Are live. We are live on Facebook on Real Talk Corner. And we did have some difficulties and we're sorry. We do apologize, but Murphy's Law is always in full effect. Welcome to Real Talk Corner. We didn't even do our intro or regular countdown, but Reese, thank you for filling in last week. I wasn't feeling well and you did a wonderful job. I enjoyed the show. Interesting conversation. But tell the people what we have tonight.
Yeah, man. Blessings to everybody. Greetings to everybody. Aaron, I mean, it's good to see that you're back.
Yeah.
You're healthy once again. Last week was a great show. But with that being said, we on to this week. And this week we have decided to reach out to Mr. Rohan Elts, the newly launched NRP candidate for St. George's 3. So we'll be speaking Rohan Elts. We get a little bit of Rohan's upbringing, his his professional career, his political aspirations, and all of that. So without further ado, because we're running a little late. Hey, good evening, Mr. Rohan Els. Welcome, Mr. Rohan Els, to the platform.
All right.
All right, good night, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for being
for
here with us, man.
Yeah, Reese, can you drop your camera a little bit? Thank you for accepting our invitation as well. It's going to be a wonderful night, and we're gonna have a wonderful discussion. And we're just gonna let you go ahead. We've seen the videos where people may have spoken about you, but we want you to also go ahead and introduce yourself. Give us a little background on Rohan High. I mean, sorry, Mr. Rohan Oils, and let us know your upbringing. We want to kind of get a feel for your foundation, what may have led you down the path that you're currently walking. So go ahead. It's all yours.
Well, as you say, my name is Rohan Isles. I am originally of Barnesgut, and um, if we can talk about formal education, I attended the Charleston Preschool. I attended the St. Thomas's Primary School. I then attended the Charleston Secondary, Charleston Sixth Form, and I did some time at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College. That is my formal education. Of course, over those years, I would have had the opportunity to be exposed to some training um,
What happened?
in my earlier teen years and throughout my professional career. I grew up, as I said, in Barnesgut, a very tightly knit community. Um, Everybody knows everybody. Most times, you hear people talk about Barnesgut, they say everybody is family. Not that that is the case, but mostly family oriented. Um, yeah, so it's a situation where you grow up knowing your neighbors very well, and it was a time when that old African proverb rang through. It took a community to raise a child, and so you grow up with those um, elder people, so to speak, who instill certain values and virtues in you, even though you were not directly under their care. It was the responsibility of those individuals to make sure that your lives were shaped in a particular way, and that kind of teaching has impacted my life and has stayed with me throughout my earlier years. So um, that's me in a nutshell. Unless there are direct questions, so to speak, about that. My professional career, of course, I spent 14 years in the classroom at primary level. I then transitioned to communications, where I spent 2 years at the News Disaster Management Department as the Public Information Education and Training Officer. I then went on to the Ministry of Agriculture, where I spent another 2 years as the communications officer within that ministry, and then I would have transitioned from that and into the service at the highest level, with a desire to use what I've learned over my short time here on earth to positively impact the community of St. George's Nevis 3. Um, I am married to, as I always say, a monstration gem, Joanna Biza. Kerry's Isles. We have 4 children, of course. Our eldest, Tejani, there's Ronnie, there's Ajudi, and our last is a little boy, Joran. And I've said before, family is everything to me, and so we continue to support our children in whatever avenues they desire to take. Um, we continue to allow them to share their interest and to push and to support them in that regard. And I am one who continually believe that extraordinary things can happen when ordinary people are afforded real opportunities to try, at least to try. And I've seen it in the classroom, I've seen it in my community, and I know it is possible at a national or at the highest local level.
All right. Reese, you there, right? I'm just looking at the stare. I can't hear you.
Yes, yes, I'm
Okay,
here.
okay,
I'm
okay.
yes, I'm here. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
All right, all right. So Rohan, you would have taught for 14 years. That's a very long time. I I don't know if you want to start on educations and your thoughts on the education system and ideas of how the education system could be made better. Definitely, but we kind of also want to hear your thoughts of why you got into politics as well. So let's actually start there. Why did you get into politics?
Why politics?
Why politics? Why
Right,
why
right,
leave
right,
the
right,
education?
politics. Well,
Right.
over my life, there are 2 things I really wanted to do in terms of professional career. One was to be a teacher. The other was to be at that time a politician. I try to most times these days I say a servant of the people because really and truly it is in service to people. Not too fond of the term politician and what politics has represented in the last few years, and so um, service to people has always been a desire. It's always been something that I have done. I'm very much in line with humanity and helping people to elevate themselves and to move from one level to another. I believe that when we sincerely and truly give people opportunities, honest opportunities, real opportunities, that they can do well for themselves. And I believe that there is enough room at the top, so to speak, for all of us. And that it is about changing the mentality that we have seen among our people, to dispel and to remove, to get rid of that so-called crab in a barrel mentality where we feel that we have to destroy somebody else to elevate our own lives. And so I took the opportunity to enter politics to be that change or to inspire people to be different in how they operate and how they think, and to do what I can in the pursuit of helping people to achieve a higher levels of self-fulfilling prophecy. Of course, as humans, we are always desirous of attaining things in life, making ourselves feel good, so to speak. Of course, we all have our different benchmarks as to um, what is um, satisfactory for us, but all of us have desires that we seek to fulfill, that we seek to achieve. And if I can help people to achieve those goals and to do that in a manner that doesn't destroy anybody else's hope, and to get to a point where we understand that we can all benefit if we are truly helping each other. I know people talk about each one teach one and reaching down to help the next person, but how much of that are we seeing? And I believe that I possess the ability to inspire people to really accept that humane responsibility of helping their brother, helping their sister in pursuit of a collective um, realization and recognition that we truly are better if we are helping each other. I know a lot of people would have asked the question of why St. George's. Of course, I said I was from Barnsley, and people who know Nevis will know right away that that is St. Thomas's Parish. Um, but why not St. George's? There are people who are living in St. George's. And I don't see myself as one who is separated either by political lines or geographical lines. We are all Nivisians, and we are all human beings, and we are all desirous of service. And we all at some point need somebody to provide, whether it is guidance or assistance of some sort. And I saw the opportunity, I took the opportunity, and I am hopeful that during the next months prior to the next election, that um, whatever my hopes and ambitions are for the people of St. George's, that they would see that I have come really just to, one, in the first instance, to listen, to hear what their concerns are, to understand their frustrations, um, to share their best practices and their success stories as well. I mean, we have heard a lot of doom and gloom, but there are people who are surviving and surviving based on um, what they would have learned throughout life, and that too can be beneficial in terms of how do we survive in this time, even though it is unprecedented. Sometimes best practices of struggles in the past can be applied to situations that we are living in now, and how those situations can be used to alleviate the struggles that people are facing, whether it is in St. George's or St. Thomas's or St. Paul's. The reality is that on this particular journey, on this trip, we have got to do it together.
Very true. We do have to do it together. I totally agree with you. Now, Rohan, we all heard that you'd have been getting into politics. We all heard everything and we have seen everything. But it doesn't hit until you go through that launch. What was that experience like being officially launched? It's no longer that hey, we hear Rohan going run out. We're now
Hmm.
seeing a full presentation. Gingerland, this is Rohan Isles. What was that experience like?
Well, Riz, honestly, the moments leading up to that launch was really where the emotions really played out for me. Um, you know, the journey to my launch was very quick, so to speak, because um, I was confirmed, I think, on April 20th, and then I had just under a month to do some introductions of myself to the constituency, group members, and to members of the St. George's public. And the day of the launch, I can tell you, I spent a number of hours by myself in reflection, because what was about to happen in a few hours was reality. It was a dream of many years and a journey through different circumstances and different situations. Not that I would reveal here, but let us just say that the journey wasn't, as they would say, a walk in the park. And when it came down to it, I remember probably at 2 hours before journeying to St. George's, I sat on my back step and I reflected, and I simply whispered the words, "Daddy, I've made it." In some sense, it was for me a moment that I wish I would have had the opportunity to share with my father, because Daddy supported us as his children in every avenue. He was never shy to show up at our functions. He was never shy to ask how we were doing, and so I know that moment would have made him extremely proud. And so that was emotional for me. Of course, my mother is still here, and she reached out, ever proud of her son, no matter what the situation was. And so for me, the emotions really came to life prior to my launch. And then at my launch, man, I it was exciting. It was an overwhelming time for me. I don't think the cameras would have captured everybody, but I took the opportunity to walk around the venue, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that there were so many St. George's parishioners who were present, and so that was a good moment. I was particularly happy that the other candidates were with me on that night. Um, and so I continue to say thanks to them for their support. My family was with me. And so for that night, it meant for me that the journey had begun in earnest. I was now a political candidate in a district, St. George's Navy Street, and it meant then that at this point in time that people would get for many their first look at Rohan as a candidate. I have since had people who would have said that they didn't know, which is strange to me, but such is the case. They didn't know that I speak like that, or as they would say, I speak so well, or I have such a presence. If people, most people would know I've done emceeing for a number of events, and I guess my teaching background afforded me that opportunity. But for me, it was exciting. I was happy to have gotten to that point, and I was happy that the constituency grew. And I must say here that they did a hell of a job. They worked extremely hard leading up to that event, and kudos to them for hosting a launch like that with just 3 weeks. And so I'm particularly pleased with that and happy about that. The nostalgia sets in after you would have finished, and you get a chance to stand and look around and say, well, yeah, this just happened. And so it was good energy. It was good. It was a good vibe. It was good environment, and looking forward to more of that on the campaign trail.
Nice.
All right.
And
So,
go ahead, Reese.
Rohan, one of the things that you said is that you have 4 children. Now, one of the
Yep.
things that a lot of people don't take into account is that their children also take this journey with them. What was the
hmm
reaction of your children seeing you speaking on that night, seeing everyone congratulating you on that night?
Well, our oldest is 12. So the next one close to her is 7, and so she is the one who gets most of the talking to in terms of what is going to happen. I have, my wife and I have taken the decision to allow our children to be children, and at certain points in time during the journey, we are going to explain to them certain things, but we don't want to overwhelm our children with um, the ins and outs of politics. We try our best, and I've said that to the constituency group that it is our desire to protect our children from certain elements of the political realm. Um, the older two, they are more understanding. The last two, they just enjoy themselves. They ran up and down the grounds, had a whale of a time on stage afterwards, and so on. Our second one, she follows me everywhere, and so she tagged along with me while I journeyed around the grounds and so on. So what we do is, as I say, we protect their innocence and let them be children when they ask questions, because they're very curious as to what is happening. We share the information with them then, rather than trying to put everything out there for them to try and digest at this age. And so with the oldest going into high school, we're trying to let her to focus on her first term in high school. And so they understand, they're excited. Sometimes you get the odd questions about why this and why that, and but it's been good so far, really and truly. In terms of all of that and our children, I have to be on my p's and q's for my 7-year-old. As I said, she's the one who is a lot like me, and she asks a lot of questions, and sometimes some difficult questions. But in terms of how we relate to our children, I am mindful that they did not ask for this journey, and so I try my best to ensure that they continue to live lives that are appropriate for children at the moment.
Got you.
So, Rohan, how were you received by the St. George's NRP constituents? Like,
Well, um, you get a mixed bag reality. Whether it is the NRP constituents or the constituents of St. George's.
Mm-hmm.
The NRP constituents were very welcoming in the early, well, not say early stages, because then people begin to get a different notion. I had to go through the process just like everybody else. Eh? Of course, mine was a little different because I am not originally of St. George's, and how parties are structured. You look for a candidate that is of the particular district.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were some others who were considered before me. And so I had to, in a sense, wait out that process and wait out to see if these individuals would go through with it. Luckily for me, if that is the case, they would have said that they were not ready at this point in time. And so I went through that. I met with the constituency group. I had 2 meetings with them. The first meeting I had with them, they were, from all indications, pleased with my presentation, pleased with my willingness to serve in their district. Of course, as time goes on and people hear, well, this person is going to run and that person is going to run, then all kind of things are going to come up and people are going to go finding things in your past if they can find it, to dissuade um, those who have the power to make the decision to not allow you to. And so I went back a second time to make clarifications on certain things. And I understand the journey, and I make no qualms about it. I hold nothing against anybody in that regard. It is what it is. What was pleasing for me, because when my candidacy was announced, people on social media and otherwise were abuzz.
Mm-hmm.
He's not from Gingerland. He's not going to defeat the incumbent. He's not going to get this. He's not going to get that. People don't know him. He hasn't been. He's never lived in Gingerland XYZ. And I said, be that as it may, when we talk about service to people and we talk about politics, what I understand is that you still have to go out and meet the constituents. Whether they're CCM or NRP, you still have to go out and meet the constituents. You still have to
Mm-hmm.
talk to the constituents.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to convince the constituents that your plans are best aligned with their future.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pleasantly surprised when I went around with a few members of the constituency group and they tried to introduce me to constituents. Constituents were making comments like, you can't tell me anything about Rohan. I know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Or people would say, I have seen, I know who this gentleman is. I have seen him on television numerous times and
Okay.
XYZ. So the constituents in most parts, and I think it goes back to the fact that I was a teacher for so long and that I have spent quite a bit of time on television in terms of my work at the Ministry of Agriculture, that people would have had an initial introduction to me. So I wasn't the stranger people were making me out to be in the first instance.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me was a good thing, because then it meant that I didn't have to go through the whole reintroduction of who I am and where I'm from and XYZ. People already knew, okay, well, this is Ron Ayers and I know him from XYZ. And so that would have granted me the opportunity. Then I can move on to the next step and say, I am the candidate for the NRP in Nevis 3, and I would like to hear from you and understand, as I would have said earlier, what are your challenges, what are your frustrations, what would you like to see happen differently, or what are some of the success stories that you can share with me that I can use to inspire someone else. So the response for me has been good. I mean, of course, you're going to get people who are going to not be as supportive, and that is the nature of the beast.
Oh yes.
I had one gentleman who, on the night of my launch, as I was, showing appreciation for people for coming out, he said to me, he said, "You're going to lose."
Mm-hmm.
And I responded, and I said, "Why?" And he said, "You're going to lose." And I asked why, albeit me, he was under the influence, but I took time to have a conversation with him to understand why he thought I was going to lose. And at
Mm-hmm.
in the final analysis, it wasn't a case that I was going to lose because I was coming up against the incumbent, but he felt that in my presentation, um, I would have, and the constituency group would have left out a number of individuals who would have contributed significantly to the development of St. George's.
Mm.
And I can't fault him for that. And I took the opportunity to, get that information and that is the reason why I say in my journey it's about listening, because you have got to listen to people to understand where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really cemented for me what this journey is going to be about. It's not going to be an easy one. I have no illusions about that. And it cements for me my desire to listen to the constituents. And that is the only how you craft policies that are in line with what people are dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only how you can reflect truly what is happening in your communities, your small villages, your large villages. And it is the only way you can make strides forward in addressing whatever the concerns are, because you can't go give a man oranges and he really wants apples. And so I continue to do my bit in desire to serve the people of St. George's by listening first to what it is that they have to say. And trust me, um, St. George's at this time has quite a bit to share.
All
Mm.
right. All right.
All right. Rohan. So here's the thing. Why St. George's, right? Because as we have known, St. George's is almost like a one track kind of thing. We have seen it where
Hmm.
St. George's have went down that CCM road for quite some time. Why St. George's? Like, what did you see in St. George's that you feel you have opportunity?
Right. I go back to when I first met the constituency group. That was one of the things too that people have long said St. George's is blue, and over the years since 1992 has voted for the Concerned Citizens Movement. And I asked the group in there. I said, who did they vote for prior to 1992?
Mm-hmm.
It was the NRP and Ural Swanston. And so it's not a case where NRP has never held reins in St. George's. And the reality is, and I say this without any disrespect, is that, and people have said it to me in conversations, is that they have felt that NRP over the past has never invested really an equal opportunity movement in St. George's. And that the
I agree.
NRP over time had focused mainly on areas where the 95% thought that they would be victorious. And to that end, they would have spent time in St. Paul's and St. John's and St. Thomas's. When you look at St. George's presents a unique opportunity for an economic prosperity in Nevis. And I say that because when you look at St. George's in itself has the opportunity to be developed as a second town in Nevis. You have the opportunity to develop across human and health services. That is to develop a medical center that provides some level of relief to our main hospital, the Alexandra Hospital. There is an opportunity for that. There is an opportunity for entrepreneurship. There's an opportunity for non-formal skill training. And when I say non-formal, because when we talk about skill training, most people feel that you have to go to a classroom and sit down and get that kind of instruction. But there are so many talented and gifted and experienced individuals in St. George's. There are mechanics and masons and carpenters and plumbers who we can whose expertise we can use and train young people in those disciplines. And the opportunity is there for the young man who says, listen, I'm not asking for handouts. I'm not asking for any money. I'm asking for an opportunity. I'm asking for guidance. And that mainly
I agree.
speaks to what the NRP is seeking to do, and that is to provide opportunities for young people to develop themselves and to have sustained economic prosperity. And when I talk about sustained economic prosperity, I mean it to a point where your grandchildren are going to be in good standing after you would have gained that kind of prosperity. That is the kind of prosperity we are talking about. You know, people talk about small island developing states as poor countries, but tell me how many major companies you know go to poor countries to do business. They showed up here with Four Seasons Resort. They have showed up here with Delta and Salt and Valuemart and Rams and so on. Poor, poor countries can provide economic platforms for businesses like those. What is happening is that people have seen the opportunities that Nevis presents for them to do well. And so I am saying that that opportunity is also here for Nevisians to do well, our people to do well. And so we want to start entrepreneurship where young people can get into allied businesses. And, you know, I go to St. George's and I see people who are there's my good friend Kwan who does light restoration, and there's some mechanics there and and I'm saying, listen, we have the opportunity to pair these individuals together. We, as a person who has a vehicle, I can get my lights restored, and I can get my body works done in the same place. I can get my car cleaned at a one stop um, area. I think we can all agree that when you look at how other races has survived and thrived around the world, is because they have sought to work together and to push small businesses that are in line with their kind of thinking. And when we work together, we have seen what the benefits are, even if it means over time that we branch out. But when we start, we work together, push together, uh, um, struggle together, support each other, and we are going to get there. So St. George's has boundless opportunities for housing expansion, where we can talk about housing that reflect a standard of living of the people of Nevis. One of the challenges we have seen is that we have seen over time, we talk about low income housing, but people who are in the low income bracket can comfortably own these houses. We talk about people in middle income housing, but people who are working in the middle income bracket, they struggle to sustain middle income housing. The reality is that we have got to get to the point where our housing stock and our housing program reflects the standard of living of our people, and that our people are able to comfortably afford these houses. So you can say you build 50 houses and 49 out of the 50 people, when they have paid their mortgage, are left with 200 and $300. That's the light bill. And so they're forced to do what? Look, second jobs. And having to look second jobs, then what happens to their children? They're left for somebody else to raise, or they're left for the TV to raise, or they're left for the street to raise, and then we have social problems. Um, I the my thing is that the government, and as a government, you control the housing stock. We can do better than what we are doing now in terms of how we afford people the opportunity to have some upward mobility in life. There are a lot of people who don't even bother trying because they know at the end of the day, having to pay $1,500 and $1,600 on a $2,100 salary really isn't going to make much of a sense. But we can do better. I believe, the NRP introduced a program of rent to own. It was mocked and laughed at, and all of those things. But an idea of granted people the opportunity to own, as they would say, a piece of the rock, and it wouldn't have taken all of their salaries to do so. Those are the kind of things we want to do. I mean, St. George's is a very big land down Hanley's Road, below Hanley's Road. I know agriculture has a big part to play down there, but there's still land down there that can be used to properly plan out communities, and to give people an opportunity, a real opportunity to own homes um, these places, and of course, people are looking to own homes in places in which they live and work, and that is a real opportunity for them. One of the things I found so heartening when I spoke to some young men in St. George's is they're so passionate about um, working for what they want and what they have. They speak so much about, listen, just guide us in the direction that that we ought to go or we need to go. We are not standing and asking you to give us this and to give us that. Just give us, just guide us. Tell us where we need to go, where are the opportunities, and listen, these young men are filled with ideas and they understand a lot about what is happening in their environment, what is happening in their communities. And so, no longer can we take young people as to say, well, young people don't know what they want, or young people foolish, or young people reckless, or young people. These people have a full understanding of what is happening um, around them, what is happening in the environment. They have ideas that they want to push forward, that they want to see come to fruition. And they know when they are being strung along or when they are being given the runaround. They're fully aware. And I'm hopeful that over the time, over the next, over the months and years to come, that we really can make positive change in the lives of young people, to give them real opportunities to excel, to succeed, to do well, to build economic prosperity, sustain economic prosperity. And St. George's is ripe for that direction, and we'll see what we can do in that regard, and hopefully we can do well as a party and get a chance from the people of St. George's and make a positive impact on the lives of the people of St. George's in a way that is, as I said, is going to give them sustained economic prosperity.
All right. So, Rohan, during your speech, I could recall you saying that there is none other like you, so you can't be compared. What makes you stand out? What makes you this great outlier? What's the difference from Mr. Rohan Isle?
Well, a very interesting question. What makes me different? I think not think I've been different from birth, really. I think my experiences throughout my life is what makes me different. I mean, I can share personal experiences with you, and you wouldn't believe that those are the kind of challenges I experienced, and still here today. My gift is from God. Really, it is what He has endowed me with. It is what He has blessed me with. I believe firmly and squarely in man's humanity. I believe in respect for people. I believe in treating people well. I believe in treating people fairly. I believe in giving people opportunities. I have a difficulty. It just doesn't sit well with me if I'm not providing a real picture, so to speak. Um, I don't subscribe to the promise mentality of promising people things that I can't deliver on, and so I tend to shy away from that aspect. I am not one to promise you something if I know I can't deliver on it. Um, I am wholesomely committed to things that I engage in, and overall, I just you get this kind of feeling when you help people. I don't know. I struggle to describe it, but when you would have done your bit to grant somebody an opportunity to elevate in life, it comes. There is this gratification. The soul is warm and it is happy. It is satisfied. When I taught, I would tell my students and I would tell their parents, listen, um, whatever successes your children will have during the school year here, it is their success. And I have never want to raise my hand to say, I did this or I did that. I teach, I inspire, I push my students to do well. And over the years, they have done well. And I let them feel good about their accomplishments. I don't get in the way of that. Um, I'm just me, you know. Um, Find myself to be very quiet and when I have to be and calm and understanding, and I think my ability to listen and to respond to what I have listened to, um, with humility, um, that really is what sets me apart from most people. You know, some people would say I just don't speak a lot. Um, Not that that is necessarily the truth, but I am more inclined to take an opportunity to listen to people, and I think that is what most people desire more. Somebody who's going to listen without condemnation, listen without judgment, listen without having to voice an opinion, um, to just listen and to give them an honest ear. And ultimately, you know, I simply want an opportunity to serve people. I don't want to be a politician. I know when I say that, people watch me funny and say, I don't know how don't want to be a politician and you get into politics. But I want to be a servant of people. And to serve people means to respect them, to encourage them, to believe in them, to push them in a direction that they may not see is in their best interest, but you have that outside eye and you can see that. Listen, the bottom line is I don't like to see people struggle. I know what it is to struggle. I know what it is to not have. I know what it is to stand in the supermarket line and put back groceries because you can't afford it. I know what it is to have to sit down with your significant other and decide which utility bill is going to have to suffer this paycheck. I know what it is to have to, you know, share what little you have among your family. And so I understand the difficulties and I understand the frustrations people are facing. And so I come to the table with that level of empathy, with that level of love, with that level of caring that I know fully well, even before this pandemic and during this pandemic, what people are going through. And so um, I believe with that, believe with my love for people, my honest and genuine love for people, that that is what sets me apart. I have no ulterior motive, and my main focus really is to ensure that at the end of the day, and I said this to my campaign strategist, I said, if at the end of the day, if at the end of it all, that I would have positively impacted one life, then this journey would have been worth it.
When I felt that.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, I felt that.
Passion of service, passion
Yeah.
of service. Rohan, one of the things, right, that you spoke about is you said that there are a lot of people that want to undertake entrepreneurial ventures. Now, with that, a lot of the things that they need is going to have to be imported, and the
Hmm.
taxes that customs put on the stuff that you bring in is so ridiculous that a lot
Yep.
of people cannot
Hmm.
get the things that they need to get their businesses off the ground. If you're elected, what would be your plan to assist these guys with customs and with also getting their stuff off the ground?
You know that is a real problem for people who even do businesses from home. You know, imagine you order your goods that it costs you $3.15 US, and by the time you get it and have to turn it around for sale, it's 90 something dollars. I have been, putting pen to paper for a general idea. It's not 100% ironed out, but I call it um, small business development is the institution of a small business development board that is going to have what is called an incubator program. And what the incubator program is set to do is to set a benchmark for an amount that can be loaned to small business. So let us say, Risk, you come in and you want to start a small business and you want a $30,000. And the government can say, you know what, listen, we can give you $30,000. And we can give you $30,000 without any need for security deposit, without any need for an equity in the amount that you're borrowing. And we are not just going to give you the $30,000. We are going to put you in an incubator program. And we are going to match you with a professional, a business development professional who is going to stay with you upwards. It could go as far as 18 months. And what this person is going to do is that this person is going to show you how to manage your business effectively, how to market, how to do your books, how to deal with human resources. So while you are getting your business on the ground, so to speak, you're getting that quality training, you're getting that quality advice that you need. And what I would be suggesting is that you don't begin to repay that loan until the business professional that we have assigned to you is confident that your business is strong enough to begin your repayment, and that over time the the guarantees of the loan is that you have to at least hire one person 1 year after the business professional would have left you, because we want to ensure that we are providing opportunities for employment. So you get the money, because sometimes that is the frustrating part. You don't have the money. You go to and government says, listen, yeah, we'll give you 10,000, but you need to have $2,000 to get the 10,000. And the reality is most young people don't have that. And so we want to give you the capital you need, but we're not just giving you and leaving you to it. We want to have some kind of measures in place to ensure the success of your small business. And so we're giving you a professional to work with. This person, as I said, show you how to manage books, how to market, how to deal with human resources. When we get to customs, and this is the killer of small business, the whole theory of customs, my thing is, for everything you're going to need for your business startup, everything you're going to need for your business startup, we are going to give you that duty free. We are not going to charge you for that. Once you would have gone through the process and we are seeing, listen, this is a viable business proposition. We are going to give you what you need. You're going to allow you to bring in what you need, all your equipment, all your stock. If there's a vehicle assigned to that, we are going to. My proposal is to allow you to get those things without the burden and the hassle of the taxes of customs. And as a small business, is, that is the help that is needed. Because if we are going to labor you with those level of taxes, then I don't think you're ever going to get off the ground, because you have to transfer those taxes to somebody. And the individuals who are going to feel the
Very
burden
true.
of those taxes are going to be the people we are already saying really don't have, as we would say, the poor people who don't have it. And if people can't afford your services, then your business don't grow. If your business don't grow, ultimately you get to a point where you're out of business. Your business has failed. And so we want to set up incubator programs that allows for small businesses to thrive. We want to give them incentives via customs, relaxing or removal of the taxes therein at customs. And I believe without having um, an in-depth knowledge of how the tax codes are written, I believe we can do better with our tax codes and small businesses. Small businesses are what drives economies around the world. Let us see how we can set our business or tax codes to reflect in the environment in which we live. But I believe, honestly, giving small businesses an opportunity to get off the ground, you can't kill small businesses before they have a chance to at least stand up straight. And so my thing would be to get them into a business incubator, give them the tax relief that they need from customs, let them set up, get their foot in, and you get off the ground, provide employment, and then we see how we can, um, be, recapture some of the monies we quote unquote might have lost through customs, because you're going to tax them in different areas. They have to pay business tax and all those kind of things, and so on. But for me, let us relook, revamp our tax code to reflect what is happening. I feel that we are taxing we are taxing our middle and low income people heavily, and they are. Even without certain taxes, bills alone. So when you add taxes to those things, um, you're practically left with nothing. Even when you try to import little things for your own use, you buy a bag. I think it's 53% is on the bag, and you add shipping and those kind of things. Right? You might you've bought the bag twice. I know people are going to say, taxes are important. I'm not disputing that, and taxes are high because you want to encourage people to buy things locally. The problem I have with that, though, is that we are not manufacturing, we are not making these things locally, and so bigger businesses are benefiting. They get the tax breaks and so on, so they can bring in the same bag a small business is trying to sell, and they get to sell it cheaper. The small business will have to, as we say, transfer all of the taxes onto the consumers, and that is why you find that people now would say, "Listen, I let me take the chance of ordering it myself, because I don't have to pay the markup, I don't have to pay the overheads." And so all of these things, yeah, we need to consider in an effort to drive the price of goods downwards, and allow businesses to thrive, and allow consumers to be able to purchase goods that they very well know really shouldn't cost what they are costing. Um, and the reality is we need to relook our tax codes, not just for small businesses, but in general, because you hear people talk about how prices of goods are changing ever so often. Today it's $5. 2 days later it is $7.50. So
Wow.
it's a review for me. It's a review, a comprehensive review of how the tax codes are affecting and impacting our ability to effectively and to properly spend money. Because what I find is that because of how things are, prices go up, and for some people it's a necessity, and depending on whatever the good is. And so even if it goes up $2, really and truly, because it's a necessity, you're going to purchase it. But that has a ripple effect, because then your budget is off balance now, and then it affects your ability to do something else. And so it's a lot of things to consider, especially when so many of our people live middle income and low income lives. But as to your question, I believe in providing small businesses with um, proper guidance. Not a lot of our young people went to university and went to school to understand how business management works. But if we provide proper guidance to small businesses and people who are trained and people who understand and give them the relief that they need in terms of our tax codes, give them an opportunity to thrive, to grow, and to provide employment, that is going to do well for the economy. Because, as I've said, and we have seen it around the globe, we know that small businesses, as former President Obama would say, it's the mom and pop shops um, on the corner that are really sustaining and keeping economies going and growing and being able to be sustainable. And so the model has worked for larger countries. I don't see why it can't work. It can't work for small countries, especially in this global environment. We are still hoping to get into a post-COVID era. Small businesses must be a focus on how we rebuild our economy, whether it is in the manufacturing industry, it is in the service industry, or it is in agriculture. And even to that end, we need to get into a business frame of mind. No longer can we just say we are doing farming and call that the end of it, or we are a mechanic and we just fix cars. Let us add business models to these situations. That you're a farmer, but you're a businessman, and you understand import and export, and you understand market prices, the ebb and flows of how the market is working, supply and demand, and so you can set out your crop rotation and growth and so on, depending on what is happening in the environment around you. We've really got to push our young people to think outside of the geographical space in which they live and understand that in order to do well and to have sustainability in terms of your economic prosperity, you've got to understand the global market. You've got to get into that space where you're competing, and in order to do that, I believe that a program such as an incubator program that provides the opportunity, that provides the expertise, is going to do well for small business in St. George's and in Nevis.
Excellent. I love the
That's
idea.
good. That's
I,
good. Great ideas.
yeah, I love the idea. I love the idea. I would want you to get into the cannabis industry. I know you mentioned that in your speech, but I also want to draw reference to a comment that you made. Um, you spoke of Moses and Martin Luther King, both saviors. Now, do you see yourself as a savior? And if so, what do you think that the people of St. George's need to be saved from?
Well, I made reference to Moses and Martin Luther King, and those references were to answer to the questions of me not being from St. George's, not in the context of being a savior.
Okay.
I don't want to be seen as a savior. I want to be seen as a partner. And how do we together build out a better St. George's? How do we together create an economic prosperity that is lasting? That we change the culture of our prosperity. That we enhance our outlook. The reality is poverty is a cycle, and we've got to break that cycle. And so my reference to Martin Luther King and Moses was one of not being from St. George's. And as I said, it's for us to work out how do we partner together to move St. George's forward, to build out a better and brighter St. George's. And so the last part of your question wouldn't require an answer as to who St. George's needs saving from. Um, but it's not a case of needing saving from, but for me, it's a case of recognizing the opportunities that are available. Recognizing that if, as I said before, if we can truly grant equal and honest opportunities to people,
Mm-hmm.
I am confident. I am truly confident that extraordinary things can happen in St. George's, and people can begin to see that there is prosperity that is available, and once the opportunities are there, that if we work hard and if we are honest and if we provide quality service, and if we are serious about what we want to do in St. George's and in Nevis, that people really can elevate their lives. And I just believe really and truly, guys, is that it is about providing the same opportunity that you would provide to a foreign investment company,
Mm-hmm.
that you are providing that same opportunity to a local businessman, or a group of young men who are serious about making a move in whatever the industry is. Um, and so really and truly, it's all about that. The bottom line is nothing can be done if you're not unless you're providing opportunities. I mean, you can want it all you want. If there isn't an opportunity, then you're going to struggle. And I believe in granting the opportunity. I know you spoke about the marijuana industry. Um, it's an economic juggernaut. We've seen it. We've seen it in Holland. Holland has long I say Holland, Netherlands has long been exploiting the benefits of the cannabis industry.
Yeah,
And
right.
we see North America following suit, and they are too exploiting the benefits of that industry. Our people are creative. Our people are smart. Our people are energetic. Our people are, we have the ability to do it just as good or even better than others around the region and around the world. But the opportunity must present itself. We have got to give people the chance to try. And if we are not providing the opportunity, and we're not providing, the chance for people to try, then what are we really doing? What are we really doing? We have some of the best soils for agricultural purposes in this part of the world.
Say it
We
again.
have
Say it again.
listen, Nevis, Nevis, Nevis is not short on expertise when it comes to marijuana. I'm sure you guys can call a few names here and there who knows exactly how that works. I don't see why we. I don't see. I get the feeling we have this outward looking psychology that somebody has to come and tell us, yes, go ahead, you can do X, Y, Z before we say we are going to do it. So could you imagine marijuana and Hammond exports large scale? So you have your marijuana market, and you have your Hammond. We import and we sell alcoholic beverages 150 proof,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and we have absolutely no problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
But we tell the people in Hanley's Road and in Brown Hill, listen, you can't brew any alcohol. Rather than saying to them, listen, how do we refine this industry? How do we bring the industry up to an acceptable health standard where you can brew your Hammond and benefit economically from it? And when you do that, not only do these guys benefit, because what is going to happen, you're going to create employment,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to benefit from foreign exchange,
Mm-hmm.
and you listen, is alcohol, you tax it how you want,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, it's Hammond, and you put it on the market,
Rubber
whatever the
stamp.
price is, these guys are going
You
to
go,
get it.
sir.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's going to go. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe it is time to release our creative energies.
Mm-hmm.
It is time to release our positive possibilities. And it is time for us to begin to use what we have been gifted for economic growth. We have got to get to the point where we accept, listen, this is by no mistake. It is no mistake that we brew Hammond.
Mm-hmm.
There is no mistake in that. It is simply that we have not taken the opportunity, or somebody come and say, listen, the thing ain't good, the thing ain't this and thing. Well, let me ask them, who did this study on the quote unquote effects of Hammond? Because as far as I
You're not
see,
gonna, you're not gonna, you're not gonna,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So people drink
you're not gonna.
CSI, it's okay for them to drink CSI, it's okay for them to drink Greenleaf Gold, it's okay for them to drink Hypnotic and Sir Edwards and all the other beverages. That is fine. So it is fine for us to support economic journeys of other countries and then watch our own people who have a myriad of talent in the same industry and say, no, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That help me understand how that makes sense.
No,
Adele, I
you're
beg you.
totally correct. So we have a comment here from Adele, right? And
Adele,
he
I
she
beg, man.
said while they're at it, export mangoes too, because the
Yeah.
mangoes are foreign in it. But before you respond, like this great idea just come to my mind.
Oh, wow.
Imagine you get mango hamon.
Oh, Lord.
You
Imagine you
know
get
what I
so
mean?
ami
It's like
pali mango, so ami pali hamon.
Oh, gosh. There goes
you
stage.
know you see you're talking about the diversification of a product here. Mango infused Hammond. You
I
know,
don't even make
you,
it there now.
He done gone. But Reese, you said
so,
it on a live forum, so you have
But
to
definitely,
yeah,
respect.
man, I
tell it,
totally
tell
agree
it.
with you. I totally agree with you, Rohan.
Mm.
I totally
But
agree.
you know,
I think that we should be easy. I think that we
one
should
of the
be able
things I
to
find,
export hamon.
yeah, I find so interesting is that there's a beverage, and I'm going to say, St. George's claims that the formula beverage,
Yeah,
you can drink that. There is no problem. Nobody bothers with you. But it is a composition of two illegal products.
depends. Depends which one you're talking about. They got the
You know,
apple cider
so
and the syrups.
particularly interesting. Back to Adele and the export of mangoes. Listen, as simple as that sound,
It's tough.
it's a viable proposition. I think it's Grenada now who exports in large numbers soursaps.
Mm-hmm. They do.
Soursop. You and I would have gone when we were there across the road to the neighbor's yard and smell soursop and just pick and eat. These
Oh
countries are
yeah.
exporting in large numbers. And so while it seems simple to most people and say, let's export mangoes, and people say, well, they're buying mangoes. Yeah, you hear in news buying mangoes. So I don't see
Exactly.
why you can't, especially if you already talk about mangoes. And when I started, I was about I said I was tempted to tell you guys when you asked how I was doing. I was about to tell you, listen, it's mango season in Navy, so you know how that goes.
Oh
Um, so you know, you talk about the Amripoli mango and whatever the varieties, and again it goes back to the point: unless you try, unless you really try, unless you honestly try, you don't know what benefits you can reap from these kind of activities. And so we have really got to put our hand out there and say, listen, let's try an export market for mangoes, because ultimately, what could happen? I mean, the worst that could happen is that Division start to cry that we don't have any mangoes to eat now because we're exporting all of it.
yeah, that's a terrible thing.
So I mean, we've got to try. We've really got to try, and there is boundless opportunities. One of the things I took from beyond, and people laughed and people said it's not even possible,
Mm-hmm.
was the growing or the agricultural expansion into Rollins
Yeah,
and up the mountainside.
yeah.
And I think maybe people think that, ah man, that can't happen. You're going to promoting or planting, but you'd be surprised.
It's perfect.
You
It's
go to
perfect.
places like Dominica, and you would be surprised
Yeah, it's perfect.
as to how their agricultural exploits are in that country. And so, you know. it's about, and we have so many, and I get back to that, we have so many experienced people within our country. And the first thing I said, you could imagine, the temperature in the Rollins Mountain is always cool, and then it gets cold, and then it gets very cold. And my thing is, why not seek out an agricultural produce that thrives in that environment
We
and
might be able
plant
to.
in large quantity that particular produce, because you won't have much to do, especially if it's a citrus tree or some kind of tree. You won't have much to do except to maintain and so on, and you can get that for export. But it's about, for me, fundamentally, it is about trying, and I don't think we have seen enough of that. Our ability to really try, um, to get things going the way we want them to.
Yeah. I think
All
Beyond
right.
had a great idea, but sadly it became comedy for some
Yeah.
Yeah,
reason.
unfortunately.
You know,
Yeah. Unfortunately, it became comedy.
you have terraces and all kind of forms of agriculture that you do on the hillside. It's there, the land there. You know it can grow.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you were trying to get in with a question, but I had one.
Well, I have another question, but if you want, if because we're
Um,
moving off of this topic, you know.
yeah, just if you have a question, okay, I'll go. So,
Yeah, you.
Rohan, you have said you're a great listener, right? So, what are some of the things you're hearing? I'm sure you have already started
Hmm.
your canvassing, and what are some of the things that you're hearing from the constituents of Gingerland? Some of the things that are more troubling to you, and some of the things that you think needs to be addressed immediately. Some of the things that the the present and past governments, and you may have mentioned some, but have neglected. You also spoke about the frustration of the young father. I also want to hear what that frustration is, trying to do better for their child. Um,
You know, in this, I think, what I keep saying I think, but the reality is the COVID era has really placed an enormous strain on an economic environment that has long been dependent on one injector, that is tourism. And when tourism fails, it has a ripple effect, and everything else seems to go downwards with it. And so the impact of COVID-19 on the tourism industry has really impacted life of people in St. George's and people in Nevis in general. I had a conversation with one gentleman, and his frustration was that there was no work. I mean, for the most part, jobs is what is really driving the frustration. And without jobs, everything else, is going to flare out like fireworks, and everything explodes because jobs provide that source of income. And over the past 18 months, we have seen people get laid off, and who didn't get laid off ultimately were terminated. And then there was the struggle of severance, and then there's the struggle of not being able to find employment in these difficult times. And so there was, this one young man who said, "Listen, I have a job, but it's me and my mom, and she isn't working. So the burden of sustaining the home is really mine. And all I'm asking for is a little side job, as he called it." And he made reference to the cleaning of the road program, and how he felt that the program wasn't properly designed, and that um, it wasn't equal opportunity for everybody. It was a case where some people were handpicked to get the jobs, and they weren't really doing the jobs properly. He even said, "Listen, what these guys do in a week, I could do it in a day." And you could hear the passion in his voice, not just about wanting a job, but the passion about doing the work. Because he said to me, "Listen, I'm a landscaper. It's what I do." And there was the passion, in that regard. And so like him, most people, the frustration is getting the job, and they're saying, look, we understand COVID has done X, Y, Z, but if the economy, if the country was in a better place prior to COVID-19, the effects of COVID-19 wouldn't have been so great. And we have seen the effects of COVID-19 since 2000, since mid 2000, when we really got an understanding that, listen, this thing was going to be around for a long time, and these are the possible impacts on the economy. And I saw people are sitting and hoping that government would seek to diversify the economy in a manner that doesn't leave us so yearning and so tied to tourism. Not knocking tourism, but we have seen what happened. We've seen it with natural disasters, i.e., hurricanes, and we are now seeing it with health crisis of this magnitude. And people are hoping that there is a diversification of the economy that allows us to survive even in times like these. You know, I read business, I think it was Business Times some time ago, and we saw, I was amazed as to how much money the online market made. The Jeff Bezos and the Mark Zuckerbergs, etc., who made, as you would say, a killing. And there were other small businesses who, because their governments provided the environment for them to transition from physical business to e-business, survived and thrived. And this is one of the things I want, for one, thought that the government should have incentivized the innovation industry and cause people with physical spaces say, listen, this thing isn't, this thing is really having an effect on us. People can't come into the stores. Let us go onto the internet and expose ourselves to a global market. That is where the money was made during this pandemic. But what we have seen is a desire for people to, you know, stay with the norm. Tourism is going to be our savior, and so let us hold strain so long. We tighten we belt a little bit more, and hopefully we don't tighten we belt to the point where we're squeezing out what in of us. And hopefully things will change and the tourism market will return to us, and it will return like a flashbang, and the economy is going to grow 6%, and hundreds of millions will flow into the treasury, and people can go back to work right away. That isn't going to happen. And that is why people are frustrated, because the regular people like me and you have understood that the struggles that the tourism product is facing now is going to take 18 to 24 months to fully recover and to return economies like ours in these small developing states to a point of some prosperity that it was in prior to COVID. There are young mothers who have to find means and ways of managing their homes. And I think we understand what I mean when I say means and ways. And so your social standing and what is accepted are sometimes, listen, the reality is people will do what they need to do. And so when I talk about the father who only wants to do right by his child, this is a man who said plain out, listen, I don't want any handouts. I just want an opportunity. Just point me in the direction. Just point me in the direction. And I wish I could, you know, fully demonstrate the emotions that with which they spoke, in terms of those things. And they shared certain things, and um, they said for them, they haven't seen their caretaker. Um, it's and when they see their caretaker, it's in passing, and and they have asked questions, One gentleman said to me he emptied his life savings to start animal husbandry, and I asked him. I said, so how has been the support of the Ministry of Agriculture? And his reaction said it all. And it's unfortunate because I think when people are making those kind of investments, um, the department has the technical know-how. There's no doubt about that. It is important that we provide that kind of technical support to people who are willing to use what they have to start businesses in those fields. It's not an easy industry, and I said to him, listen, there's so much opportunity for you to do well, but you need the right connect in order for that to happen. um, I even said to him, listen, I don't even want you to just to be somebody who's rearing pigs, but I want you to think about being on the level of people who are rearing pigs for economic purposes and how they manage the animal rotation. I said, listen, I'm sure there's a program for breeding your animals, so you control how much animals you have in your stock. You control when it is time to slaughter them. And he looked at me, with disbelief, as if to say, all of these things are possible. And I said, yes, all of these things are possible. And that is why I keep talking about granting honest opportunities to people. Granting honest opportunities to people, because it doesn't take anything from the department to say, listen, we are going to put you on to XYZ. This person has a wealth of experience, and you can go a little further than this person has gone. Um, I speak of young mothers who for quite some time hasn't had a steady job, but they have children to feed. Um, you speak of I speak of their passion, and they talk about how they'll be fine. I'll be fine once my children can eat. I'll be fine, and we understand a mother's love. But in that same vein, in the 21st century, I don't. It really troubles my spirit that young mothers still have to promote that ideal that I'll be fine once my children can eat. Because what it is really saying is that I am struggling. I am struggling. It is difficult, and I am doing what I can to ensure that my child eats. And once that happens, I am good. And we know that is not the case because it plays on the mind. It is mentally frustrating. It is mentally tiring, and you succeed today, and then you have to worry about it tomorrow. And quite a bit of our families have survived on whether we want to accept it or not, we have survived on the lessons that our mothers and our grandmothers taught us of being able to make do with little, and how to stretch it out. And that is an unfortunate reality, and people may not like it, but that is the honest truth. One of the saviors of poor people is what do they call them? Ramen's noodles. Ramen's has become a, 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 a staple. There is so much you can do with it, but that's the reality of a lot of people, not just the people in St. George's, but the people around Nevis. Not trying to sound what should I say, to make a depressive situation, but the reality is people are struggling and people are having a difficult time. And if you when you listen to people, whether in full conversation or little passing, or sometimes people send me messages and they express their hope. And what I learned was that so many of them had hope for a better time. after the elections of 2017, I think, and a lot of them believed that it would be better for them, um, that things would get better. And from conversations with some of them, that isn't the case, and there is a frustration there. And some people would tell you straight up, listen, I am guilty for voting for them. I am guilty for putting him there, and after putting him there, it's just been frustration after frustration and difficulty after difficulty. I had one gentleman who said to me the most contact he would have had with the caretaker is a tip of a horn in passing. That's not my words. That is what um the gentleman would have shared. But you know, guys, the reality, the realness of the situation in which quite a number of divisions are operating is a direct hope that for some reason this may not be real, you know, that what they're enduring is not, it's a farce or it's a dream, and tomorrow at the snap of a finger things are going to change back to a to a pre-COVID era, and things are going to be the same, and that is not the case. What is going to happen, gentlemen, is that an NRP government will have to return to power. An NRP government that is fit for purpose. An NRP government that understands the struggles, the difficulties, and the pressures under which people are living. An NRP government that believes that putting people first and foremost, and that their policies are drafted and designed to help to alleviate the struggle that people are facing, is going to be the best decision for the people of Nevis. And to get a government that says, listen, we're not just satisfied about paying our bills, we're not just satisfied about paying wages, we want to do more. We want to create an environment that calls direct foreign investment. We want to create an environment that allows for the diversification of our economy. Our party leader, as an economy, as an environmentalist, is passionate about a blue economy that speaks about how we can benefit from the ocean and from the resources therein. And this is one of the things we are going to seek to push and to diversify to. And the rescue of Nevis begins with every individual who today is having a difficult time. And not of their own doing, but because of the circumstances and the environment in which they're operating now. You know, a lot of us talk about COVID, but make no mistake about it. The economy of Nevis was not strong prior to COVID. And COVID simply revealed that underneath the surface, where there should have been pillars, strong foundations of investment in local opportunities for small business, where there should have been strong pillars of granting honest opportunities to our divisions, where there should have been strong pillars of seeking to diversify the economy, where there should have been strong pillars of looking to bring foreign direct investment, to at least bring a new hotel, to seriously consider the revitalization and expansion of our airport. Underneath the surface, my friends, was sand, and COVID as water, waging a holy war on the economies around the world, has caused our economy to plunder into what seems to be the darkest of abysses. And I am confident that the only hope we rescue this blessed island of ours is a return of the Nevis Reformation Party to the power. The frustrations of our people are real, they're palatable, and they can't be dismissed. People are struggling, whether we want to accept it or not, in political terms or in real terms. People are struggling, and people, I mean, ultimately, the journey, I said to them, take a journey with me. Take the journey with me. Let us take it together. Let us understand together what is happening in St. George's. Let us see what we can do to write the path and to build out a better St. George's. The change that they seek is at hand, but I can't want it for them. They have to want that lasting change for themselves, where we can once again build build out an economic prosperity for our people, and to see our people again doing well. Um, I think the father of our nation would be extremely happy once we can get those pillars under our economy firm and strong again. And so those are some of the frustrations that people are sharing. You know, as Shelley said, not naked. And even as that was meant to be funny, it is the reality that many people are facing.
All right. Wow. This was a lot to take in, but you made some great points. I totally agree with you in some points that you made. Now, one of the things that we've been speaking about throughout this program, the entirety of this show from its inception, is that we have been speaking about bribes, right?
Mm.
We have this thing of we hear of people getting paid to vote. Some people may get the $2,000, some people may get the $500, whatever it is. What are your thoughts on this bribe situation?
You know, we have spoiled an entire generation of voters, and we have caused an entire generation of voters to believe that um, quid pro quo is the way to go. You
Mm.
you give me something, I give you something, but what are we giving really? You know, you spoke about $500. That's mere cents a day over a 5-year period. What is the ultimate value? And I think what we ought to get back to is to valuing our vote, valuing the sacredness of the power of the X, understanding that the power that is in your vote far exceeds any amount of money that you can be paid. Because with that vote, you decide the direction in which you want your island to go. You decide how economically prosperous you are going to be. With your vote, you decide how your children are going to grow up in an island you love. That is the power of your vote. The power of your vote doesn't rest on $2,000. It doesn't rest in $500. I don't support, not then, not now, nor will I ever support the philosophy of paying people whether to vote or not to vote. I said that to the constituency group that that will not be a part of my campaign. And if it means I go home with 5 votes, gentlemen, then so be it. I am not playing that game because we are setting ourselves for a dependency state where people are no longer going to feel that they need to engage in self-sustenance, engage in honest employment, and they're not going to want to do anything except to call you as the elected member and say, listen, you know, my rent is joining $2,000. You know, the gas done, I need $150. That can't be the measure of our service. That can't be the desire of our people. Divisions have long worked hard for what they wanted and what they needed, and we have truly and honestly spoiled a generation of voters. And you know, some people say it goes both ways because people ask for X, Y, Z, and politicians are quick to hand out the money, quick to pass out the $500 rather than saying, listen, you know, I can't give you $500, but I can show you where you can earn $500 every week. And so we have got to really get past and get back to a place where we value our vote, we value integrity. And I mean, this is an open and honest call to politicians and political parties to desist from that kind of practice, because you know there is so much more that we can do with that $100,000 that you would have pulled out just so that you can convince 150 young men in St. Thomas is not to vote, or 200 people in St. James is to vote this way. And then when that is said and done, you carry on like nothing has happened, and you have no use or no value for them until the next time. Are our memories so short, or self value so low that we accede to these kind of things? Listen, I have no problem if a constituent says, Mr. Minister, I have rent. I have $1,800. I'm short of $200. That's a different story, right? But when you're going to just meet people and say, I want you to vote for so and so and so, what will it take? The man can tell you $2,000 and you whip out, you say, but I can't give you 2,000, but here's 15. You walk away feeling good about that. That it is by all means necessary that you and those you support get into government. No, we as a people, my friends, we are completely better than that. I believe we are better than that. And I hope my confidence is not in vain. We really ought not to be engaging in these kind of activities. Lay your policies before people. Lay your plans before people. Lay your humanity before people. Let your desire for people to elevate themselves before people. And let people decide honestly and wholesomely that this person is best placed, or that person is best placed. And so my answer to you in short is I don't subscribe to it. I don't like it. It's not good for the country. It's not good for our people. And we ought to call it out when we see it, and we ought to desist from that. I said to my friends, I said, the next time they come with that kind of question, tell them you want 36,000. And they watch me as if, what you? I said, because $36,000 would reflect a year's worth at $3,000. That's being on government payroll. That is what you want. You're really seeking employment. You're not seeking, you don't want a handout. You don't want $500 this year, and then you don't get anything for the other 4 years. So you're settled for mere cents for your vote, for your power to change, for your power to influence. No. When they come, let them tell you how they can provide employment for you, and you're talking about it, ministers and prospective, because at the end of the day, what are we really desirous of? To gain political seats, and then you run because you can't get in $500 every day. You can't get in $500 every month. It's too many of them, isn't it? So what you do, you pay them to vote for you, and then you disappear. You forget that you have come to the people to provide quality service, and that is what we are seeing, and that is unfortunate. So no, that's not going to be me.
All right. All right. So this is my final question of the night, and my final question is going to be: the Constitution was written in 1983 when we gained independence. It hasn't been revised since. What constitutional amendments would you like to see?
I think one of the challenges we have faced as a country in St. Kitts and Nevis is that certain parts of the Constitution gives Nevis some absolute powers. For example, St. Kitts can never secede from Nevis based on the Constitution. Nevis is the only island of the two that has that power. We can invoke clause 113 and sail away, so to speak. And so to afford all our people equity and equality, that is something that we should seek to address because I'm sure Kittitians would tell you, you have the power to secede, we should have the power to. That is something we can talk about. For me, fundamentally important is how our government is structured. When you look at it, Nevis has an island government, and then there is a federal government that has certain jurisdiction over Nevis. But St. Kitts doesn't have an island government. The government of St. Kitts is the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I believe the time has come to allow for representation for the people of St. Kitts, the people of Nevis, and then we get a representation at the federal level. And these people may not necessarily be the people who are leading either St. Kitts or Nevis, but these are people who, when they deliberate and when they look at what is in the best interest of the country, they're doing it from a position that is not um, muddied by the affiliations with either local government. And so that is something we need to look at as constitutionality. We've got to get away from who controls the government calls the election. I think we need to get to a point when we know exactly when our elections are, and that there is a set date constitutionally for our elections, whether it is, of course, we know it's every 5 years, and that gives, and for me, that gives governments an opportunity to govern rather than always in this state of political campaigning. And when I say elections, I mean both federal and local, because there is absolutely nothing stopping us from putting both elections on the same day. And when we do that, we allow the country to settle down. We allow governments to get to work, and we allow people to benefit from the electoral process. You look at it, Nevis is always in a state of campaigning, and there's very little time for government to settle down and do the people's work. If you look at the situation now, it looks like it's every 2 years. And how do you function having to campaign every 2 years, especially in a situation where you have the same set of people trying to gain political office in Nevis and gain political office in St. Kitts? The people are not benefiting from the best talent that is available when we are always in a mode of campaigning. Listen, it might as well we just say who campaigns the best at the end of the gets the spoils, because we are always campaigning. We're always campaigning. And that has brought leadership into question, because sometimes I feel that the incumbent is doing more campaigning than governing. And they're mixing up the fundamental difference of the two. You campaign, yes, for your political party and to inspire and to motivate and to energize your base, but you govern so that every single person who is under your charge has an equal opportunity to prosper. That is governance. That is governance. Not, I mean, everybody will not agree, but it comes to a point where whatever is decided benefits everybody, even if you know it's not what you wanted. There is a benefit in the final decision for you. You know, you wanted a two bedroom house, but the decision is XYZ, you get a 1 bedroom house. That is a benefit. It is not what you wanted initially. But because you would have governed in that manner, the people who are affected get some level of benefit. And so, I mean, I'm sure there are other constitutional issues, but I believe we need to set right our governance model and how we govern, and that is going to eliminate a lot of the discussions and a lot of the challenges that we face in terms of how we share resources and so on, because you know petitions are going to tell you most of the money going into the treasury is petition money and XYZ, and rightfully so, you know. And it gives a level of parity. That is one of the things. Of course, the election issue, um, and even in so much, there's so many of our laws that are as old as England. And what is so challenging is that the British system has advanced their laws, yet we sit in the darkness of their advancement. They're moving ahead, and we are behind. They're looking up at wigs. We've got to get to a place where we begin to craft laws and policies that reflect um, our people's desires and hopes, and what are truly best practices internationally, and bring such laws into line with what is happening around the world. So we, we not only feel like a country that is developing, but we look like a country that is developing.
Oh, thank you, thank you,
All
thank
right.
you, thank you.
And I think we have reached the end of the program. Rohan, we would like to wish you, all the best in your endeavors. Um, and I know before we leave, if you would
Sorry,
like to.
I'm not hearing you.
Oh, you can hear me now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, 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 okay. I'm sorry. I wasn't talking to the mic. So yeah, I think we're at the end of the show, end of the program, and you hit some great points. You do have some wonderful ideas, and I don't know if you want to make a final appeal on Real Talk Corner to the constituents of Nevis 3, encouraging Gem, encouraging Jin, encouraging Jin. Okay, I'm messing up, but encouraging them to come out and vote for you whenever the local election is called. You know, give you that last word here, and you're always welcome back. Thank you for accepting our our invitation as well.
Well, I want to thank you guys for the invitation. I always take the opportunity to to speak to my constituents and to speak to people in general. Um, to the people of Nevis 3, and I love that you say Nevis 3. That has been a mantra, Nevis 3. Um, Again, fundamentally, it's to take the journey with me. I am willing to take the journey with you as the people of Nevis 3. Now that we have gotten rid of the hurdle of not being from Nevis 3, um, we get on a mission to see how do we build out a better St. George's? How do we build out a better Nevis 3? How do we create economic prosperity that is sustainable for families and for generations to come? How do we change the course of St. George's? How do we bring St. George's in line with what is happening by whatever measure in Nevis? And how do we begin to lead the way in building out an economic prosperity for Nevis? There is an abundance of opportunities in St. George's. You know the opportunities. You have seen the opportunities. You have called for the opportunities. You have identified the opportunities. And I'm saying to you that in partnership with you, I know we are going to be best placed to build out those opportunities, to create employment, to have sustained employment, to diversify in areas that allows the people of Nevis 3 to live and play where they live. I am not come to tell you what you want, to tell you what you need, but I've come to listen, to understand, and together we can craft policies and build on ideas that are in the best interest of people of Nevis 3. And so, as we take this journey together, I am hopeful that we get a better understanding of each other, that we get to a point where you can say, at this point in time, Rohan Isles is indeed the best option for Nevis 3. As always, my name is Rohan Michael Isles. Firefighters will be. How can I help?
Perfect.
All right, guys. Wow, there you have it. Ron, it's been some time that we've been going back and forth trying to get this interview together. But with that being said, I
Yep.
wanted to tell you thank you. Thank you for accepting the invitation. Thank you for being here with us, and thank you for delivering. It was an epic interview, and we thank you. We hope to have you back sometime in the future. And as we get closer to election and we get down into the nitty gritty, then we'll definitely be
Yeah,
reaching out to definitely have you back and your full campaign mode. So
yes,
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone in the
my
comments who was
pleasure,
here
man.
with us tonight. Thank you guys for being here, being a part of the show. Tanya, yes, I can change my chair. I'm gonna fix my chair. Yes, I tell you, see W 40 comments. But
Mm.
thank you guys. Thank you to everybody that's been here, man. Thank you guys for sticking it out with us. It's been
Yep.
a pleasure. Era, take us away.
All right. Just before we go, tune into the topics tomorrow night. We're gonna have a special airing of the topics tomorrow night on the Real Talk. Sorry, the Real Entertainment Network. So, Rohan, big up yourself. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank
And
you,
we're
guys.
out.
I appreciate it. Have a good night.
All right. Real talk. Real talk. Real talk.